Of all the recent events in the Middle East, one of the most consequential is the fall of the Assad regime in Syria. Assad not only killed and tortured countless Syrians and forced millions more into exile, but the regime precipitated the rise of ISIS and allowed Putin and Iran to project military influence across the Middle East. The collapse of the Assad regime created a once-in-a-generation opportunity, a chance to deny our adversaries, Iran, Russia, and China, not to mention ISIS, a base for operations, and a chance for the Syrian people to retake their country and chart their own future. The Syrian government has done a lot of what we've asked, the new Syrian government, that is, working to eliminate chemical weapons, clamping down on the Captagon drug trade, helping to search for missing Americans. So I was very pleased, and Senator Risch and I did a statement in support of President Trump's announcement earlier this week that he would lift U.S. sanctions on Syria. Mr. Rayburn, if confirmed, you will be charged with overseeing U.S. policy on Syria, among other things. So I'd like to hear how you will ensure that we make the most of this moment. It's imperative that the administration ensures all sanctions and restrictions on Syria are lifted, assuming Syria continues to move in the positive direction. I think it's also important to facilitate a sustained dialogue with Syrian officials to ensure that they stay on the right path, and we need to move quickly because we're seeing efforts by Russia and Iran to move in. Too many Syrians have lost their lives fighting oppression to let this window of opportunity pass. What's happening in Syria is not an isolated event. It's part of a global competition for influence with our adversaries. Unfortunately, the cuts to foreign aid by the administration and to other programs that counter China are leaving our allies and partners isolated and vulnerable. This puts additional pressure on countries like Vietnam or Indonesia to hedge their bets against the United States. And many nations in the Indo-Pacific region are longstanding American allies, and yet right now we risk pushing them into China's hands. So, Mr. DeSombre, I hope you'll talk about how you would work to bolster our ties across East Asia and the Pacific to counter PRC influence. And finally, Mr. Pratt, you've been nominated to serve as the Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs. In this role, you be charged with overseeing arms sales and the process of notifying Congress on arms sales. As you're aware, this committee takes very seriously its role in reviewing arms sales, and we expect the State Department to uphold its obligation to closely consult with both the chair and ranking member of this committee on all military sales. I would just point out there was a really interesting hearing in the Armed Services Committee earlier this morning on this very issue that I'm sure you would find instructive if confirmed. Mr. Pratt, I'd like to add that I understand that to date you have been particularly transparent and expressed a willingness to build a relationship with this committee, and I want you and all the nominees to know that those efforts are noticed, so thank you very much for that. I look forward to hearing from each of our nominees today. Thank you all.